Already under unprecedented scrutiny, Boeing is tonight facing new allegations. The FAA tells NBC News it's investigating new whistleblower claims, first disclosed by the New York Times, made by a Boeing quality engineer who warns the 787 Dreamliner's fuselage was improperly fastened together. In a letter to the FAA, his attorney writes it is likely to cause premature fatigue failure over time in two major airplane joints. That could cause the plane to break apart after many thousands of flights.
He is alleging that Boeing knowingly took a series of manufacturing shortcuts in the construction of the 787.
But Boeing strongly objects, insisting the 787 is very safe and has undergone intense stress testing, saying these claims about the structural integrity of the 787 are inaccurate and do not represent the comprehensive work Boeing has done to ensure the quality and long-term safety of the aircraft. Still, the new claims come after two fatal MAX 8 crashes overseas and the MAX 9 door plug blowout in January, all to be the subject of congressional hearings next week.
Boeing is putting profits and production speed ahead of quality and safety.
The 787 fuselage is made of a lightweight composite material to make it stronger than aluminum with better fuel economy. Boeing and three different providers make the components that join together in the final assembly. The FAA has already approved Boeing's plan to tighten paper-thin gaps between those sections, which the engineer claims are vulnerable. Boeing insists they are stress-tested and safe. The plane, it says, should fly for decades. The new whistleblower worked at the same South Carolina Boeing plant where another whistleblower worked, John Barnett, who took his own life last month. Before these new allegations, the FAA chief told Lester last month Boeing's quality control remains under intense FAA oversight and inspection.
I will make sure that we're not approving any aircraft into the system that are not safely built.
Boeing says the 787 should fly 40 to 50 years if the plane is properly maintained. There are now 1,100 in service worldwide. The company says it has spent years going over every element of the plane to make sure it is safe. Lester?
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.